So Instacart may be under more scrutiny when it comes to their tipping policy, and when this tip baiting is happening all over the country and has become a widespread issue, some government officials are stepping in and calling for an FTC investigation. And that's what we're talking about right now. Hey everyone, Chris here from Real Rideshare Stories. If you're new to the channel and you're looking for different things within the rideshare industry, whether it's updates to what's going on, news, tips and tricks for passengers and drivers, or what actually happens on real rideshare rides, start now by hitting that subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications. Also make sure to check the description below for other helpful information and tips. Tip baiting for Instacart shoppers has been a problem for a while now, and it's been very widespread. It's covered in the news. I did a video on it very recently, and it's just been a problem overall for shoppers. Now, if you don't know what tip baiting is when it comes to the Instacart platform, essentially what it is where a customer will place an order, put a large tip to make it more appealing for that shopper to actually pick it, and then that person will get their order first. Then after the shopper accepts that batch, they'll shop and deliver the food, and then they're expecting this nice big tip, and then they will see later that it was adjusted from their big tip down to zero, which will affect their bottom line. And they could have made more money by taking a different batch that was maybe a little bit more in price, but a little bit less in tips. And unfortunately, it has been a problem for many people who have suffered from this tip baiting scam. And tip baiting is going in the news again now, not only because of how much it's still happening, but because there are senators who have wrote letters to the FTC to begin an investigation into what is going on, as well as letters to Instacart to make sure that their practices are up to par and are not going to create a problem for the shoppers during this economic crisis. So this article right here is from CNN Business, and it's titled "Senators Call for FTC Investigation into Instacart Tip Baiting After CNN Business Report." And a link will be in the description below, so if you want to read this in full, then you absolutely can. So it says, 4 Democratic senators are calling for federal regulators to investigate the controversial practice of tip baiting on grocery delivery app Instacart following a report from CNN Business. And many other news organizations, outlets, and many YouTubers have also made videos on this practice. The last month, CNN Business reported that some Instacart customers were bait and switching workers by offering up a large tip as high as $50 or more and then taking it away after the grocery delivery was completed. And that's the tip bait. On Thursday, a letter signed by Senators Brian Schatz, Elizabeth Warren, Sherrod Brown, and Chris Van Hollen was sent to the Federal Trade Commission asking the agency to scrutinize the tipping policy at Instacart and other similar companies. So if this is going to go into Uber or Lyft, if this is going to go into DoorDash, Postmates, Uber Eats, or any of those companies, that's still unknown. But when it comes to Instacart, probably Shipped, these companies will probably be under investigation or at least scrutinized when it comes down to it. So it says people are facing unprecedented economic hardship because of the COVID-19 pandemic, and so it is more important than ever that we protect people from unfair and deceptive practices. Exactly what a tip bait and switch really is. Read the letter, a copy of which was shared in advance with CNN Business. At a time when Instacart shoppers are most vulnerable, Instacart's service is allowing customers to deceive and shortchange shoppers. In a similar letter sent to Instacart, the senators wrote that they welcome hearing from you about how Instacart is responding to these reports of tip baiting and what steps the company is taking to protect shoppers during this challenging time. The FTC confirmed that it received the letter, but said it had no other comment. When asked about the letter, Instacart told CNN Business that the vast majority of people adjust their tip upward or do not adjust their tip at all after delivery. But yet, it still is a major widespread problem. So it says, our goal is to deliver a high quality experience for both customers and shoppers by allowing the customers to tip after delivery based on their overall service. We see shopper tips increase or stay the same on 99.5% of orders, an Instacart spokesperson said in a statement. Additionally, since the beginning of the COVID-19 outbreak in North America, shoppers' earnings from tips have nearly doubled. After the CNN business report, Instacart made no changes to its tipping policy. It continues to give customers the ability to change a tip for up to 3 days, including cutting it down to 0. As a spokesperson previously told CNN Business, the company recently removed the none tip option for people, so users who would want to tip nothing must manually change a tip to 0. The spokesperson said this could deter users from doing so. It could, but it's still happening, and that's part of the problem. So being able to change a tip is not uncommon for on-demand delivery platforms, but other services such as Uber Eats and Postmates, which offer on-demand meal deliveries, allow customers to change tips for shorter windows of time, between 1 and 10 hours, depending on the platform. Demand for grocery delivery has skyrocketed during the coronavirus pandemic, prompting Instacart to hire hundreds of thousands of more workers. At times, many customers have struggled to place orders for items they want or even get a time slot for delivery due to the high level of demand. So then it goes on and talking about, from an Instacart worker, that tip baiting seems very demoralizing. And they say, I don't pretend to be a hero like a nurse in a hospital, but I am literally exposing myself to coronavirus. And when I return home, exposing my own family to the possibility of transmitting this disease. When you know that it's somebody who's just doing it to game the system and to get their order when they want it, it's really frustrating. And this is Ambrula said at the time of CNN Business's first report. So it says Instacart's also benefiting from a surge in customers' orders in recent months, and workers have criticized the company for not doing enough to ensure they're adequately protected and paid during the pandemic. Workers have participated in strikes against Instacart, including demands such as hazard pay and a default tip of 10%. Instacart previously said it would change its default tip setting from 5% to the most recently used percentage as a customer chose to tip. So it says, as the senators indicated in the letters, online delivery companies have faced backlash over years for how they've handled compensating workers. Instacart faced criticism for the way it handled tips before the pandemic, as workers said some tips added by customers were being used to subsidize a minimum pay rate instead of being treated as bonuses. In response, Instacart said in February 2019 that it would make changes and apologized for its approach. So this isn't the first time that Instacart has been in hot water when it comes to this whole tipping policy, because yes, they were taking tips and using it for the minimum pay while they were pocketing the rest. Some other companies have been trying to do that as well, and when they got caught, they were sued, and then they were unable to continue that practice. So they changed that policy, and then they are now still in hot water because of the whole bait and switch when it comes down to it. So it will be very interesting over the next few weeks or months, depending on how long this investigation takes and whether the FTC is able to do anything about it. And so it's pretty interesting also to see how these senators, these government officials, are starting to step up and try to challenge these companies, whether it's a legal matter, whether it's a commissioned matter, or however it is. But it is going to be pretty interesting because there's probably going to be a lot of new regulations that are going to be taking place over the next few years for all of the gig economy itself, whether it's going to be food delivery and grocery shopping, or whether it's going to be ride hailing, or even package and other shopping delivering as well. So it will be pretty interesting. Now, what are your thoughts on all this? Do you think that this is something that needs to be addressed? Have you experienced something like this with the bait and switch? Or what are your thoughts when it comes to how to fix it? In my opinion, at least, I think that if you put a large tip down, that is what you have to put no matter what. So if you put $50 down as a tip, that's what you're going to be able to pay. Whether you want to adjust it from being the same or increasing it, that's up to you, but you cannot decrease it. Now, the only way it may be decreased is if you put a percentage, and that's if the batch goes at, say, $100, the tip would be $10. But if the shopper can't find everything and the order goes down to, say, $80, then the tip could be adjusted down at that point because it'll stay in line with the percentage. I think that's exactly what it should show. And then that would be the much better option for when it comes to protecting shoppers. And is Instacart even going to listen to that? I don't know. But what are your thoughts on that? What do you think they could do in order to prevent something like this from happening, or at least putting it into shoppers' favors instead of pulling this bait and switch, which is, yes, a very deceptive practice? Comment below and let me know. And that's the end of this video. Make sure to subscribe and ring the bell for notifications so you'll be notified every time a new video is uploaded. Also, make sure to check the description below for other helpful information and tips. And as always, never drink and drive. Always tip your drivers, your delivery drivers, and your shoppers. And we'll see you next time.